Hello everyone, welcome to TPNN, the Profile Netcasting Network, broadcasting from the Profile in beautiful downtown Vancouver. Brought to you by Mr. Taxes. Visit them at mrtaxes.ca. You're listening to The Allan Knight Show, your business communications coach.
Hello everyone and welcome to The Allan Knight Show here on the Profile Netcasting Network. Still haven't got it right.
You're getting closer each week,
Getting
Allan.
closer every week.
Are we live or recording?
We are live at the Profile downtown Vancouver, 375 Water Street, every Thursday, usually at 3 p.m. Today it's at 4 p.m. We have an entrepreneurial show. This show is geared for you, the entrepreneur, the small business person. We're here to animate you, support you, help you in any way. You know, more and more businesses are getting into more and more people getting into their own businesses, and they need skills. And mainly, they need communication skills. They need social media, part of which we're going to talk about today with one of our more popular guests. And there's a couple of reasons we bring him back, and we'll go over that before I introduce him. But we're going to talk a little bit today about social media and social media engagement, and we'll also talk about the usual topics of mastering your communication skills. You know, we're in business. Every day we get up. We don't have a choice. We got to get on the phone. We have to get out there and network. This morning I was at a networking event. There were 50 people at the event. And how does it start? It starts with everybody getting up and doing a 60-second elevator speech. And no less than 80% of them did I yawn through the speech. We're going to talk about that at the end of this program. So after we're finished with our guest, I'm going to take about 5 minutes to talk about some of the 3 or 4 keys for those of you that are running weekly networking events to spruce it up, to make it more dynamic, to make it more effective. Clearly, ladies and gentlemen, we're in business for ourselves. We would not accept our cell phone or our technology not to work at the highest level of efficiency. And yet here we are going out, trying to do business, meeting people, building relationships, selling, networking, public speaking. And my question is, how effective are you at communicating? And so, sorry to say that many of you have a lot of room for improvement, as we all do. I'm always working at improving my communication skills. So today, every week, generally, I say every week, most weeks we have a guest. And our guest today is one of the most recurring guests. And there's a reason we bring him back. Mike Zahora. Mike Zahora is our producer, and he takes care of all the backing. You don't see what he does here. He's a little angry with me today because I got here a little late. But Mike's a very forgiving guy, aren't you, Mike?
Yes, I am. I thought I was going to be the guest you were talking about. Like, what's going on?
Do you still love me?
Yeah. Okay.
We won't go that far.
We won't go that far.
Mike Zahora produces the show, and he's amazing. So, Mike, there's a reason I brought Bosco Anthony, who a lot of you know. There are 2 main reasons I bring Bosco back as a fairly, a regular guest. Do you know what those top 2 reasons are?
No, but I'm sure you're going to tell me.
I'm going to tell you right now. There are 2 main reasons. One, if Bosco's my guest, then I'm going to look good. After they hear him communicate, I'm going to look good. So he makes me look good. He does a lot of good for me. That's number 1. Just teasing everybody. Number 2 is Bosco does all the grunt work out there in social media. You know, you and I know that most entrepreneurs don't know much about social media, and they count on what Bosco calls thought leaders. We're going to talk to them about that. That's why I call it thought leaders, talking about what's important about social media management. So Bosco does a lot of great work. Why? Because he spends a lot of time on social media. He's ahead of the game. He knows tons more than any of us will ever know. And the thing about him is he's always ahead of the game. So he uses me, I use him. That's why I bring him back on the show. That makes sense?
That makes sense.
So you're with Allan Knight Show here at the Profile downtown Vancouver every Thursday. We hope that you had a great week. We're getting fantastic feedback on our shows. And I got to tell you, I got to thank you, Mike. I got to thank the Profile, because I find by getting known and the quality of the audio cast, the video cast, the netcast in general, I've had twice as much traffic on my YouTube channel as a result.
Excellent.
It's incredible. Last week I was at 44 subscribers. Now I'm nearing in on 70 subscribers.
Perfect.
So, this works, but, it's the same old game. I'm sure Bosco's going to agree with me, and I'm sure you're going to agree with me. Most entrepreneurs make the mistake of thinking they get into their own business and everything is going to happen right away. And you and I both know that it takes determination. It takes step after step after step. My old business partner who passed away 5 years ago, Stephen Greenspoon, was a wonderful man. And he would always say to me, I hate when he said this, by the way. He said, Allan, one step at a time. I hated that. I wanted it now. One step at a time. And he was a wonderful man, taught me a lot of lessons. He wasn't my mentor. He was what was called my tour mentor. And when he landed into me, and it was so heart-wrenching, but he knew I could take it. At the end, he would say to me, Mike, he would say, Allan, I just want you to know this is not personal. But he was always right. He was an amazing man. Now, we're going to turn to our guest, one of my favorite guests. I'm not going to say my favorite. Well, he brought me some apple. You brought me apple juice.
I was listening to your last talk, and you said that Dean Martin always used to have a bottle of apple juice back in the day. So
that's very true.
Putting some communication skills to the test.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me again, Allan.
Bosco Anthony. For those of you that don't know him, I can't imagine you don't know him. He is the preeminent thought leader in Vancouver, Canada, soon to take over the world in the area of social media management. And when we get together, I'm sure we always have a good time because there's meaningful discussion, there's thoughtful discussion, and there's a lot of fun to go along
Absolutely.
with it, right?
Absolutely.
So how are you doing? Give us first an update on your life in the last week or two. How are you doing?
Really well, Allan. I mean, I think the last time I was here, I was playing around and dabbing around in a lot of interesting things going on in the content and social media world. But just came back from a speaking gig in Hawaii, and my blog was nominated as a business blog in Vancouver, made it as a finalist to that event, and things have been going really well. It's just a question now of trying to find the balancing act between everything else. And yeah.
Well, you'll come to our next seminar, and you're going to learn a lot about balance and focus.
Absolutely, I've been putting your communication skills to the test, and
how's that working for you?
It's great. I have to say that you touched on a few points about us being digital natives, and we're always hooked onto our phones. I think you should have a new rule. Actually, every guest that comes to your show should hand in their smartphone just for the show. I think that should be like a common thing. Yeah, standard now.
You see, I'm going to have to disagree with that. We want you to tweet about this.
No. I want to focus on interpersonal skills.
Absolutely. But I think the big takeaway is that we're so independent of our phones and digital technology that sometimes we forget the actual in-person relationships out there. So yeah, it's been working well.
That's why I love sharing with you, because you and I both know that the world is changing so fast. And social media is, yesterday I look in the paper and I see Microsoft has this new iBox or eBox or whatever the box
Xbox.
is. Xbox.
Xbox One. Yeah.
Which is going to be the next great thing. And so, people like you tell us about it, keep us at. Now, for most of us, we can't keep up with all of that, right? Now, the thing I love about you and our relationship with Mike Zahora and Randy Duick and others is that we get together, and what people forget about it, you're in business for yourself, and I know you're going to concur with me because you use the word tribe a lot, right? And what people forget is if we're going to survive and flourish as entrepreneurs in this world, we ain't going to do it alone.
Absolutely.
And I already, but in the short time I've known you, Mike, wouldn't you agree? We've known each other for only several months.
Yep.
Kevin and I, same thing. And slowly, because of the relationships that we're building, something is happening and we're making it happen, but it's collaborative. Would you agree?
I would have to say that that's really key in any business right now. I mean, there's only so much you can do. And I think that if you have the ability to work with influencers who can not only influence your brand, but you have the ability to influence theirs, you can do so much. I mean, a lot of my international opportunity in the last few months, in the last few weeks, have come from people that I know as opposed to what I know.
Right.
And that's key.
Right. So in this show, if you don't mind, I want you to consider that the audience are not social media experts.
Yep.
Because you're people that you talk to every day. Some of them know, but you're not that's not the language I want you to talk.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to talk to the average person. Now, let's start in very simple terms.
Yep.
People are out there saying, okay, I'm in business for myself, or I'm embarking on business for myself. And I hear about social media, and I hear about social media management. So in very simple terms, first tell us, in your lingo, in simple lingo, what is social media management mean?
Okay. I think let's start off with the social media. I think social media is basically a platform designed for people to have conversations. I think that's the simplest I can get really when I'm defining social media. And when it comes to social media engagement, which is a power word that we keep using a lot, it's basically the ability to have meaningful conversations or putting life into meaningful conversations in a digital playground, essentially. And when we talk about social media management, it's basically the ability to manage your presence on those social platforms. So I've just defined social media, the engaging factor, and then how to manage and integrate the two together.
Okay, all that sounds neat.
Yeah.
But I don't know about you. I have a certain number of hours during the day.
Yeah.
When I think of engaging, I think of mainly, I'm calling Mike, we're on the phone. I call you, we're on the phone. I'm at a networking event, I speak to somebody. Now, when I went to one of your events, somebody was there touted as the leading Twitter queen,
right,
and has hundreds of thousands of followers. Now, I can't believe she's got deep, meaningful relationships with 100,000 people who tweet her. So when you say engagement, the average person can't relate to 100,000 tweets.
Well, here's the thing, right? I mean, at the end of the day, we don't look at how many followers you have to determine how successful you are on social media. At the end of the day, I don't like being labeled the guru, because the most common mistake that people make is they judge someone's knowledge on social media based on the amount of followers they have. It's the question of what you do with those followers. And going back to the main basics here is that at the end of the day, I don't look at someone's profile, whether they're having engagement or they're not having engagement. The key part here is how are they building those relationships both online and offline. And the thing is that, yes, you're right. You know, we've got all these different things going on. And your key question here is, how much time do I spend to this particular project or this particular presence? It comes down to this, is that we have different types of ages. We've got the millennials, we've got the digital age, we've got people who are old school, as they like to call themselves. And so, are they on social media? Absolutely. Is your market on all these different aspects? Absolutely. So you have to reach out on different platforms that makes your audience and your customers more comfortable.
So how does then how could you help a business ensure that the strategy that they're using is meaningful? For example, let me give you an example, even in my own case.
Yeah.
I know from what I've learned from your seminars that Twitter, there's a place to use Twitter. And I know that as I grow my seminars on a large scale, tweeting and Twitter will be very valuable for me. I use it a little bit right now.
Right.
But mainly what I'm doing now, because of where I'm at right now, is I'm making excellent contacts on LinkedIn, and I'm making certain strides on Facebook as well. And now I'm really using Google Hangouts for the video application as well. So my question to you is, there are different kinds of businesses and individuals out there. How do you help ensure that they're communicating properly and effectively using social media?
So there's 3 pointers here. The first, I want to add, first of all, your Google Hangouts are great. I just watched your recent video on communication and networking, especially the networking tips. Phenomenal.
And the next one's going to be better one I'm doing tomorrow.
Absolutely, and I think that the fact that you're doing Google Hangouts is really impacting the community that's watching that. So great stuff there. Going back to your question as far as what you need to do properly is, first of all, you need to identify why you're social, why your presence is there. And like any other practice, whether you're communicating online or offline, there are things that can be said online and the things that you need to take offline, which are private. And so you need to have some sort of awareness and consistency when you're dealing with the social platforms. But the biggest step for businesses today is to identify their core values and their purpose statements, and then have that consistency on all channels. If you're going to be on YouTube, Google+, and all these other areas, put good use to them, but make sure that the branding message is all the same. Because a lot of the times businesses will have what we call social islands, where they have a LinkedIn profile that they haven't touched in 6 months, or they'll have a Twitter profile that they won't touch. Each of those platforms have different uses.
But wouldn't you agree, based on what you just said, wouldn't you agree if you have Jane Doe or Joe Blow, the consultant,
Right.
and the consultant's target audience is medium to large sized companies, they might benefit almost exclusively by making more subtle connections on LinkedIn, and may not need to use other avenues as much, as opposed to someone like myself who would like to reach the world with media. Would you agree that you got to focus sometimes on different ones and platforms?
The one thing I do agree with you is that you have to focus. You have to focus on whatever you do. Now, having said that, I think that you really have to understand the purposes of each platform. So for a consultant, for example, Twitter is great for events. I mean, I attended the BCMA event yesterday evening, and the Twitter stream was just going off, and I got to meet so many people in the audience that were there interacting. That could be potential customers, partners, influences, and if I had just picked one platform, I mean, I'm a consultant too in some ways, I would be missing out on that interaction. So I think that it's important for you to know why you're online first, and then learn how to use those platforms to best complement your business need. And I think, let's look at you, for example. You know, Google Hangouts, education, you're getting viewers, you're getting subscribers, LinkedIn for professional communications, Facebook for massaging those relationships. But Twitter is one of the most quickest interactive ways to pick up people and talk to first online and then meet them offline. And those relationships are great right now.
Do people, like companies does a company have to always use these personally? Like, let's say a guy like me or a guy like you or a guy like Michael Zahora. Let's say we're using all facets of social media, but we don't have many hours in the day.
Right.
Can we pass off some of the communication? Like my executive director who's sitting back there, Tricia Hansen-Bell, who's now such an amazing addition to my team. She is doing a lot of things that I didn't have time to do before.
Right.
Would there be anything wrong with her, or eventually we hire someone to communicate, as long as that they get the communications that we aspire to give?
I think we asked this question maybe about 40 or 50 years ago when the phone got invented. We asked this question when email was invented. You know, it's another form of communication, really. So if you think about it, companies have customer service centers and service centers for a reason, because back then, email got invented, and then phones and all the other jazz, and now you're getting another medium for people to communicate. And so, you know, let's face it, if you're a business owner and you have people at a restaurant and they're happy or not happy with your food, guess what? Chances are they're going to be on a social platform talking about your food. Mm-hmm. The worst thing you could ever do, I'll give you a very great example, was I was at a restaurant for the Eat Vancouver special, and there was a bunch of people that were unhappy with the service that they received. They tweeted the restaurant, and the restaurant didn't bother to respond to them. Mm-hmm. Those people aren't coming back.
Right.
So as a business, you have to have some sort of intelligence to identify who's your market. And let's face it, regardless of whether your market was born in the 50s or the 60s or today, they're already online. You have to accept it, move on, and find a way to cater to it.
We're going to take a short break. When we come back, I want to ask you a couple of more questions. And one of them, I want to address the whole matter of stress as it relates to young people using social media.
Absolutely.
Just a reminder, you're listening and watching the Allan Night Show every Thursday at 3 o'clock PST. Today's an exception, 4 o'clock, a couple of minutes after 4. We are at the Profile, downtown, beautiful Vancouver, Gastown. If you've never been here, you must be here. This is summer. Well, it's almost summer. Summer's coming, and you guys will appreciate. Is there a better city to be in than Vancouver during the summer? Is there? Would you say?
Very hard. Maui, maybe?
Maui?
I'm biased. I went there.
Could be hot. I don't know. But isn't Vancouver one of the most beautiful places?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, it's just everything. And Gastown, where we are, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't been here, it's beautiful. And the Profile is an amazing location with offices. It's a co-working office space. And this is only the beginning of a business radio network where they're going to have, at least 12 radio hosts. I'm just one of them. Well, I'll probably be one of the lead ones. I'm certainly the first one, but I have a bit of advantage anyway. But we're going to have to make the more we bring back people like Bosco Anthony, I don't think anyone's going to catch us anyway. So thank you for listening in. And we were with the great Bosco Anthony, who's a thought leader in the area of social media management. We're talking about a lot of things. Now, I want to talk to you about this. I know that we had a chat about this on a number of occasions. I woke up one day about 2 months ago.
Yes.
And I saw an article in the paper. It was about the significant increase in suicides among young people in Canada, I guess probably the same in North America, of young people. And one of the fathers of one of the kids that committed suicide started a whole
movement. Yeah.
And they asked him questions, and he's delved into it. And they're trying to get to the causes of this. And the causes make a lot of sense to me. And what he said is, more than ever, young people, even though with all the social media, young people are smarter and brighter and more aware than we were ever and our parents were ever. But there's so much, they use the word pressure. There's pressure to perform. There's pressure to keep ahead of social media. I'm walking outside, I'm seeing everyone texting forever. I'm seeing you ahead of the game with social media. You got to keep going like that. Now, I'm a monk. I was a monk, for God's sake. And thank God I've kept my monkhood.
I'm having a hard time seeing you in a monk outfit.
Well, it took me 15 years, but then I missed girls too much, so I left the monkhood. But
Some things haven't changed, I guess.
But my point is, don't you think there's in all the wonderful excitement around social media, we could talk about it, and I'm excited about it, and we want to use social media to attract more people to our seminars online and offline. So we're going to maximize it too. But don't you agree that there's a danger of people losing balance in their life, and they can go overkill with social media and the rational mind?
I think like anything else, absolutely. I mean, if you look at liquor, guns, if you look at all those other damaging things out there, they can be put to good use or they can be put to harmful dangers as well. So
Very good answer.
sounds like a diplomat, don't I?
Very impressive
But
answer.
I think, yeah, I mean, yes, everything out there can be used towards harm or good. And I think that, it's really sad and unfortunate that people use those mediums to bully and really hurt such young minds. And I think that it's something that parents have been, really focused, especially in the last few years, really focused on making sure that it's not happening to their own kids. I mean, I think it's any parent's fear to know that their child's being bullied on social platforms. I have friends that have gone through those scenarios where it's a pretty scary process, and not taking anything away from the things that have happened. Social media is and can be damaging to such young minds, but it's a question of discipline, common sense, and also just doing good on the platform as opposed to doing bad. And I think that as a business, we've evolved to so many different other mediums. We have to think beyond that. We have to use it for the main purpose. At the end of the day, it's a communication platform.
I think you're so right. And also, it's very easy for us to get caught up in the media because the media tends to be negative. And yes, there are a lot of things that are negative, but we can't forget that there's a lot of amazing, wonderful people out there and a lot of wonderful things that social media does. Now, how do businesses engage audiences on social media? What are the keys for a business to attract audiences?
Well, I think that there are different strategies. I think that the first thing that businesses are doing right now is educating the masses of their presence. So we're seeing a term right now it's going to probably be sticking around for a few years now. It's going to be called integrated campaigns. And what the word integration is when you're infusing old school marketing techniques with new school marketing techniques. So I'm seeing a lot of corporate companies, a lot of small businesses mixing direct marketing postcards or brochures, but having those social signals on those brochures, having social signals on email signatures, right? And so what's happening right now is we've accepted the existence of social media. We've come to terms with it. So a lot of businesses, first of all, are educating their clients and letting their clients know that they're online and that they're present there. And the audience is welcome to go to these platforms and communicate with them. Very similar to, even your night talk, your profile. I mean, when you're doing a show, people are interacting with you. One of the things that I was really impressed with was with your meetup. When you just launched your recent meetup, you commented to everyone that basically sent you a comment online. I got to see it. Mm-hmm. And that's what engagement is. Mm-hmm. So I think that that's really a big key right now. And I think the next thing is really just trying to catch the attention through shock and awe campaigns, video, pictures, visual engagement, all these different strategies. I mean, I think that's another show on its own, is really how do people get captured by this? And there's so many ways. I mean, I think you and I can sit down and write a blog post on it. You're doing it right now with the radio show.
Yeah, no, it's great. Last question. How much time should be spent on social media when it comes to communicating?
This is a good question, and I think it's really important. And I think the part here is it really depends on your business. Most people start off a lot, and then they start to decrease. I've come in a stage right now where 15 minutes is good for me because I already have built a presence. So I think the key part here is how much time can you give when you're starting out? And as you start to build your clients and the people start to call you and your phone's ringing off the hook, you start to decrease that. And so it really comes back to you as a business owner. How much time can you give to this presence?
Thank you, sir. How do people get in touch with you?
Bosco Anthony, Google it, tweet me, or find me on Facebook. I'm basically found everywhere on Google under the name Bosco Anthony.
It's always great to have you, and we'll
Thank
have
you,
you
Allan.
again many, many times.
Awesome.
We only have a couple of minutes, so I have a few announcements. Number one, if you want to get some video tips from myself, I want you to go on letswalkthetalk.com. You get access to a 3-minute video, 20-minute video. It'll give you the 9 steps for to activate your inner power and how to communicate with confidence. You can go to allanknight.com, ALLANKNIGHT.com, access your speaking tips. Every month locally in Vancouver, we have a meetup group. If you want to go to meetup.com/walk-the-talk, you will see we had 65 at our first one. We're going to have well over 100. We have a facility that could pack hundreds in there. And once we've perfected everything locally, we want to go into each city. So if you're from out of town and you want to connect with Tricia Hansen-Bell, who's our executive director. You can contact her at triciahansenbell@knightinternationalnetwork.com. And we're going to do a lot of traveling. So the connections start now, social media. We want to start connecting with people in every major city. We're going to have a lot of information and support online and offline. The radio show is a going concern. We have a Walk the Talk boot camp program, 60-day programs with a 1-day workshop, 60-day follow-up, which we're going to do offline first, and then it's going to be online. So there are going to be many opportunities for you to activate and to connect with what we're doing, to learn how to master your communication skills by first mastering yourself. Take good care, drive carefully, look forward to seeing you next week. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.